know, when somebody asks you about that thing you supposedly wanted, and you answer just a little too quickly? Like,
Oh yeah. Totally excited. Cannot wait.
and then the conversation ends, and your face just immediately goes, okay, not dramatically, not movie scene devastated, just flat. Like your body accidentally told the truth before your personality had the chance to catch up. And now suddenly, you're standing in the kitchen, staring into the refrigerator like there are answers in there. Which is crazy because why do we as human beings always open the refrigerator when emotionally overwhelmed? There's never any new information in there, I promise you. Same grapes, same almond milk, same emotional confusion. And immediately your brain starts managing you, right?
No, no, no. I'm so excited. This is good. This is good. This is what I wanted. Why am I acting weird? Don't act weird. Don't start acting weird. Don't do this. You have to be grateful. Everybody would be grateful for an opportunity. Other people would kill for this.
Girl, trying to convince yourself emotionally while also being the person listening to the sales pitch is actually insane. Because now you're both the struggling employee and upper management. And upper management is emotionally abusive and HR is useless. People think forcing yourself is something that's obvious, like crying in parking lots, public breakdowns, big dramatic life crisis. Most of the time, it's quiet, functional, productive, socially rewarded, Instagrammable. It looks like continuing a relationship after your body has already checked out, applying for jobs when you secretly hope they don't call you back, and making vision boards that feel more impressive than honest. Buying things because they look like the thing a successful person would have in their life. Practicing sounding exciting before telling somebody your plans, rehearsing enthusiasm, editing your tone, watching yourself in real time, trying to emotionally force yourself into becoming a person you can't even naturally feel connected to anymore. Just because that version of you survives better socially. Like,
Okay, say it again. But this time, sound like somebody who really enjoys their fucking life.
be so serious. Ah. And the really fucking twisted part, sometimes you genuinely think you're finally becoming yourself when you're actually becoming the version of yourself other people reward the fastest. At first, it genuinely feels like growth. That's what makes it so dangerous because desire is absorbable. People osmosis each other's desires constantly, especially now. A lot of people don't even realize how many of their desires were socially downloaded into them. Somebody posts a morning routine, now suddenly your entire life feels undisciplined. Somebody posts their luxury apartment, and now your perfectly fine apartment feels like a temporary holding cell. Somebody gets engaged, and now your relationship is suddenly like, what are we even doing here? Shit or get off the pot energy. Somebody quits their job to travel, and now you're looking at your laptop like it personally betrayed you. Somebody becomes hyper productive, and now you suddenly feel guilty for resting. Somebody reinvents themselves online, and now your own personality suddenly feels like it's underdeveloped. 30 seconds ago, you were literally fine. Now, suddenly, your whole entire existence needs to be restructured by four. And honestly, that's how a lot of people accidentally end up living lives they never consciously chose. Not because somebody forced them, because admiration slowly became instruction. Because admiration admiration has a physical feeling to it. It's sharp, it's charged, it's exciting. your brain goes, that, I want that right there. That thing must be the answer to everything that is wrong. Meanwhile, sometimes you do not want that life at all. What you want is the emotional identity you think comes along with that life. Very, very different thing. Sometimes people don't want the business. They want to feel impressive. They don't want the relationship. They want to feel chosen. They don't want the body. They want to feel intouchable. They don't want the routine. They want to feel like the kind of person who finally has their shit together. They want emotional permission to stop feeling secretly inadequate, to stop feeling behind, to stop feeling like they somehow failed at being a person. Because a lot of people were never taught how to ask, what do I actually want? Only which version of myself gets left. And once you realize that, everything gets a little darker. Because now you have to ask, wait, if nobody clapped for this, would I still even want it? That question has destroyed entire fake identities instantly. Because some dreams exist almost entirely to be witnessed. Some goals survive on applause, and some lifestyles survive on envy. Some personalities survive on validation. Some people only want things once they imagine other people envying them for having it. Some people aren't chasing their dreams. They're chasing evidence that they're finally acceptable. Because being admired felt safer than being authentic. Because some people confuse admiration with love and envy with worth. Remove the audience, and the desire evaporates. If nobody could see it, post it, validate it, envy it, compliment it, would you still want it? Would you still want the actual daily experience of it? Not the aesthetic, not the montage, not the identity, the Tuesday of it all. Because eventually, the fantasy becomes maintenance. Now, it's not a dream anymore. Now it's your alarm clock, your routine, your calendar, your responsibility, your conversations, your personality. And that's usually where the disconnect starts. Because eventually your body has to participate in the life your imagination got emotionally attached to. And those are not always the same thing. Because the actual lifestyle, oh baby, that's repetition. That's emails. That's waking up again tomorrow and doing it all over again. That's grocery stores. That's admin work. That's meal prep. That's your alarm clock. That's Bulgarian split squats. That's dishes. That's laundry. That's being alive and surviving until fucking Wednesday. Real life is aggressively regular. Fantasy survives because fantasy never has to become routine. Reality does. And routine exposes whether the desire survives reality. And eventually, you start noticing something weird. Your body is participating completely differently than your mouth is. Your personality is still saying, this is good. This is what I want. Meanwhile, your body is like, I don't think that I could keep doing this. That's the part that people ignore. Because mentally, they're still committed to the identity. But physically, emotionally, energetically, something already started pulling away side of it. And once that starts happening, your body begins reacting to your life before your brain fully admits how unhappy you are inside of it. Because the body usually knows first before the brain catches up. That relief when plans get canceled, and then immediately shaming yourself for feeling relieved. The way when your phone lights up and your body gets tired before you even check who it is. Nobody even said anything yet. And now suddenly you're emotionally preparing, rehearsing, energy, managing tone, preparing facial expressions for a conversation that hasn't even fucking happened yet. Why? 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 People ignore those feelings because they think discomfort automatically means growth. No. Sometimes discomfort means you're stretching. Sometimes discomfort means you're abandoning yourself in installments. Huge difference. And a lot of people are calling self-abandonment discipline because self-abandonment photographs better, gets rewarded more, looks impressive online, makes people clap. A lot of people think they grew up. Meanwhile, they just became easier to digest, less inconvenient, less loud, less honest, less themselves. And honestly, a lot of people have spent years confusing anxiety with alignment. Just because something is hard does not mean it is meant for you. And just because something looks good socially doesn't mean that your nervous system agreed to carry it. Your nervous system can literally reject a life your ego is obsessed with. And that's terrifying because now you realize you can consciously chase a future your body has been trying to escape the entire time. And honestly, that same pattern shows up hardest in relationships because relationships are one of the fastest places people start performing themselves. Sending a representative ring a bell? People force themselves romantically all the time. And not because they're deeply connected, but because the relationship solves something emotionally. It makes them feel chosen, safe, validated, less behind, socially legitimate, like their life is finally working. Which is why people stay after attraction dies. Because attraction was never actually carrying the whole relationship. The relationship stopped being about a connection and became about emotional infrastructure. Some people are not in love, they're emotionally stabilized. It's carrying their identity, proof, safety, status, structure. And once that happens, leaving no longer feels like losing a person. It feels like losing proof. Proof you're lovable. Proof you're desirable. Proof your life is working. Proof somebody picked you. Proof you're not falling behind everybody else. That's why people override themselves for years. Years. And eventually, the self-monitoring starts. Don't say that. Don't ruin the mood. Don't seem dramatic. Don't seem needy. Relax. Act normal. Because eventually, when you spend enough time managing yourself around other people, you stop asking what feels true and start asking what version of myself works best here. And that is where people become quietly performative. Not all at once, in tiny adjustments, tiny edits, tiny suppressions, tiny performances. Adaptation stops feeling temporary. Eventually, it starts feeling like your personality. until your personality becomes less about self-expression and more about social survival. Now you're not building yourself from instinct anymore. You're building yourself from feedback, from reactions, from approval, from attention, validation, reward. And that's when people start building personalities like a Build-A-Bear. Some people are so adaptive, they don't even realize they've spent years shape-shifting for approval. Especially people who learned young that acceptance comes from adjustment. So now they think they know exactly how to become likable, easy, valuable, desirable, impressive, low maintenance, useful, not too much, never inconvenient, easy to keep around. But ask them, what actually feels true to you? And suddenly it's silent. They have no idea because they've spent years studying what gets rewarded, not themselves. Some people became experts at becoming lovable without ever learning what actually feels true to them. Some people can tell you exactly how to become desirable and have absolutely no fucking clue what actually makes them feel alive because they've built this reality around feedback, not truth. They learned how to anticipate desire before they ever learned how to identify their own. They became mirrors, not people. And that is terrifying. And the problem with building yourself from feedback is that eventually you stop knowing which parts of you are real and which parts of you were created because they worked. Work socially, work romantically, work professionally, worked online, worked for survival. So now every version of you is optimized for acceptance, not connection, acceptance. And eventually, you become so focused on becoming lovable, successful, desirable, impressive, easy to keep around that you slowly lose connection to the version of you that existed before the performance entered the room. That's the self that people abandon, not all at once, either quietly, in tiny negotiations, in tiny edits, tiny suppressions, tiny performances, until eventually you can achieve the goal, get the body, build the career, enter the relationship, become the person that everybody praises, and still feel completely disconnected inside it. Because achievement cannot reconnect you to a self you abandoned to achieve it. And eventually the performance becomes so constant, you stop knowing whether people love you or the version of you that you created to survive them. And the really horrifying part, the performance got rewarded so consistently. You buried the real version of yourself so deep under performance, you started experiencing authenticity as a threat. Eventually, the performance stopped feeling fake because there was nobody left underneath it checking. Truth be told, eventually, your body starts reacting to the life your mouth keeps pretending to want.